Hi crafters, I'm Daniela of abcrafty, and today I'm going to show you how to make a wet felted mini top hat. You'll need to use a resist for this tiny hat. This is what you'll put between the layers of wool to prevent them from felting together. I personally like to recycle Amazon packaging for my felting resists. I've provided the pattern for the resist for free on my crafting blog at abcrafty.com/felted-mini-hat, along with the step-by-step instructions. The link is also in the description, along with a full list of materials. After cutting your resist, place it on a large piece of bubble wrap. Then pull off small amounts of wool and lay it in one direction over the resist. Overlap the sections and make sure some of the wisps are hanging off the side. Make sure to keep the layer thin. You can always add more, but you want an even thin layer so the fibers can easily interlock. By the way, I like to use wool with different colors. This one that I'm using today is from a grab bag, which is perfect for these small projects. I link to some of my favorite places to get wool in the description. Once you have your first layer of wool, add another layer perpendicular to the first. You can also gently press the top to see if there are any places that need more wool, and add some. Then mix warm water with olive oil soap. I like to do this by simply dropping the bar into the water and swirling it around a bit. Then I remove the soap bar. Cover the wool with the mesh fabric and wet it. I like to use what's called a ball broth for this since you have more control, but you can also use a sponge or simply sprinkle some on. Then gently press the water into the wool. Get your hands soapy and rub across the top, very gently. You don't want to do too much at this stage, but just enough so that the fibers won't stick to the mesh. After it's all wet, carefully flip it over. It can help to fold over some of the wisps first and then remove the mesh. Then continue to fold over the wisps on the other side. Make sure they're pressed against the edge, otherwise it'll felt against itself and the edge will have a crease. Now on this side, layer on more wool. Again, you want to make 2 perpendicular layers. So once you have your 2 layers on this side, wet it out again, and again, flip it over and tuck in all the wisps along the edge. Then repeat it all over again so that there are 4 layers of wool in total on each side. However, for the next layers, put less towards the edge. Otherwise, it'll be too bulky along the edge since all of the layers are overlapping. Once you complete all the layers, cover it with mesh and get your hands nice and soapy again. Gently rub across the top for a few minutes on each side to create a skin to the top layer of wool. Lift the mesh occasionally to make sure the wool isn't sticking to it. If it is, use less pressure. It's also a good idea to rub along the edges to make sure there won't be a crease along the sides. Once the wool isn't sticking to the mesh, it's time to start felting. Place a towel down and then the bubble wrap on top. Put the pool noodle to one side of the bubble wrap and roll it all around the pool noodle. Then wrap it all in a towel. You're going to roll it 100 times. I like to roll it in sets of 25, just the distance of my hands. Then I give the log a quarter turn and roll it another 25 times. Then I repeat this process of giving it a quarter turn and then another 25 rolls until I get the full 100 rolls. After you finish all 100 rolls, check the mesh and place the pool noodle at the bottom. Then give this side another 100 rolls. Then repeat the process 2 more times so that you roll from all 4 sides. Then flip the hat over and roll from all 4 sides again. Yes, it's a lot of rolling. I definitely recommend watching a show or listening to a podcast or something else while doing this. After you complete all the rolling, it should pass the pinch test. I didn't show it here, but I go over it in my beginner wet felting tutorial that I link to in the description. It's when you pinch the wool and lift up. If it comes up as 1, it's technically felted and can move to what's called the fulling stage, in which you shrink the wool down. At this fulling stage, you can now get more aggressive and start by rolling the hat on just a pool noodle. Again, make sure you're rolling it evenly from all sides. Eventually, you'll feel the hat start to shrink. It's at this point that you want to remove the resist. To do so, cut the bottom of the hat from corner to corner. Be careful not to cut the resist if you want to use it again. Now get your hands nice and soapy again and rub the inside of the hat to create a layer of felted skin. I find it's easiest to do this by flipping the hat inside out, and then you can just rub from the outside. Now it's time to really shrink it down using whichever wet felting technique you'd like. I go over various methods in my beginner's guide to wet felting video and blog post, but I personally like to start by using a wooden dowel. Open up the hat and refold it so the edge is now in the middle. This way you can smooth out any possible crease that may have formed. And don't forget to roll it evenly from all sides so that the hat shrinks evenly. Once it has shrunk significantly, you can get out the hat form. For this mini wet felted hat, I wanted to make sure that anyone could make it, so I designed it to use a frosting container as the hat form. Just make sure to eat the frosting first and clean out the container before using it. Place the container of frosting, or in this case, the hat form, upside down onto the table and pull the hat over it. It's okay if it's not fully shrunk at this point. That just means you have more fulling and shrinking to do. But now you know which sections need to be shrunk more. Trim the brim so it's even all around. So now if needed, continue fulling and shrinking the hat. You also want to start getting the top part flat. One way is to put your hand inside and rub it against the bubble wrap. After shrinking the hat further, it'll eventually get to the point where you'll need to keep it on the hat form. Rub all around the form, or the frosting container, and keep shaping the hat to it. I find using a palm washboard really helps with this, especially on the top. I included a link in the description to the one I have. In case the brim is still rough, you can heal the edges by getting your hands soapy and rubbing the brim. The sooner you cut the brim, the chances are you may not even have to do this step, as it'll actually heal itself during the fulling process. Now once you like how everything looks, rinse the hat until it doesn't feel soapy. Then let it soak in water with a splash of vinegar mixed in. This actually brings the wool back up to its normal acidity, so it's more durable and brings back some of the shine. Then squeeze out the excess water or run it through a spin dryer. I was actually recently sent a spin dryer, and it is a game changer for my felting and yarn projects. I've linked to the one I have in the description. Now the last big step is to pull it over the hat form again and let it dry completely. This way it'll keep its shape after drying. Once dry, your wet felted mini top hat is ready for a headband or a clip. For a headband, glue it to each side of the hat. I recommend gluing the hat at a slight angle for a more whimsical look. For this hat, I wanted it to have a clip, so I glued it to the brim using a glue gun. Now it'll easily stay in my hair. For an extra bit of detail, you can add a ribbon and tie it into a bow. I personally preferred how it looked without the ribbon, so I didn't end up using it for this one. But now my wet felted hat is ready to wear. If you make your own tiny felted hat, I would absolutely love to see it. Tag me or DM me on Instagram at ab.crafty. And don't forget, all these steps and pattern are on the blog, so you can save them for later. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And comment below which felting projects, or any other projects you'd like to see. And to see what I'm crafting day to day, be sure to follow me across my socials.